So we're going to be playing Bad Movie Lines now with you, and you guys can play along in chat. And then after that, we'll be taking your chat directly to us. It's time to play Bad Movie Lines. All right, so what are we playing today? Quarter Black Garrett or Tokunawan?
Bad Movie Lines.
What's the film?
The film is Kill and Kill Again.
Kill and Kill Again. All right, what kind of movie is this?
It's a South African martial arts film.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we are just walking up the third rails at every moment here.
Yeah.
South African. Really? You picked a film from the place that brought us apartheid?
Yeah, how dare you?
It's the gods must
We're already
be crazy.
off Twitter.
Does it star David Carradine?
No, actually, no.
Is it just Nelson Mandela in a kung fu uniform?
Yes.
What would you like me to read?
He's
the
pulling a
description of
Jackie
this
Chan using tools around him. It's just prison bars.
Dr. Horatio Kane has been kidnapped and is being forced to create an army of martial artists.
Okay.
Yeah, who will help him take over the world, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
His daughter, Candy Cane. Oh, see where it went there.
Which, by the way, the world has been almost taken over several times in recent history. Not once by throngs of martial artists.
Yeah, South African martial artists.
Vietnam.
The niche.
Not really. More so had to do with guns.
Yeah, but that wasn't taking over the world.
They weren't high-kicking their way.
Yeah, they were hiding in trees. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
It is impressive.
So Candy Cane enlists the help of Steve Chase, our hero, right?
Okay.
Horatio
correct?
Chases.
Okay.
Yeah. To rescue her father.
Okay.
That's the premise.
All right. Okay. So let's watch this, and then we have to guess the movie line. Play the clip.
Everybody should have at least one. I have other weaknesses that come first, Miss Kane.
Please call me Candy.
Sounds delicious. Related to the missing Nobel Prize-winning chemist Dr. Horatio Kane.
He's my father.
Been missing 2 months, I believe.
Not just missing, kidnapped, in fact.
Oh. Very sneaky.
A watch battery.
Oh.
Somebody else must be interested.
Is he in the piano?
Has there been a ransom note or anything?
You ruined my drink.
How does she
I was
respond?
gonna say, ruin your drink. They're not whiskey
These people
stones.
aren't interested in money. They want power. Sexy, sexy power.
B.
A ransom note? What's that?
B.
Or C.
Or C. My father has been working several years on a project to extract fuel from potatoes.
What do you think there, Gerald? I'll let you go
What
first.
do you think it is?
I'm going with, because it's not a porn, I'm going with C, the potatoes thing.
The potatoes?
Yeah, if it was pornography, which it almost sounds like that
It
would
could
A.
be.
A would be closer to.
I'm not super familiar with South African cinema.
Well, that's
a good point.
I'm not exactly.
Then again, I was
either.
glad to not be familiar with Mexican cinema until Roma worked its way into my life.
Oops.
Oh.
And then it worked its way right out.
You watch your Los Perros.
What do you think?
I gotta say B. I mean, I think it could be C,
Ransom note?
but I think B because she's kind of an idiot.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. I mean, if she...
I'm Candy Cane.
Candy cane.
He said sounds
I like a good rain, candy cane.
Yeah.
It washes everything clean.
candy cane.
Where you touch me?
I'm gonna go C. I don't know
You're gonna
why.
go C?
I'm honestly not. I wasn't. That was so long. I wasn't able to follow it. So I'm just gonna say C because I was earlier before the show talking about Dan Aykroyd's potato vodka. So
There you
you know
go.
what?
Of
I
course.
feel like it's providential. If not, I'll cease believing in God.
Why heavens?
Here we go.
My father has been working for several years on a project to extract fuel from potatoes.
My salvation is intact.
Fuel from potatoes.
Someone someone fetch my temple garments.
And the stones, I must consult them once again.
She really has a lot of information on this.
She
too.
does.
Yeah, long line.
She does. All right, let's
We want
show.
his potato fuel recipe. We're willing to hide in your piano until you give it to us.
By the way, hitting the piano keys didn't make his ears hurt right before
Initially, yeah.
This just goes to show you too, as a comedian, this is also why I hate doing things like I used to do CPAC for 3-4 years. I don't really like doing these live speaking or appearing on cable news because as a comedian, the more you can shorten something, the more you can distill it, the better it is. When something is overly complicated or they're trying to connect a bunch of dots for the same reason Darren Aronofsky is a horrible film, and I knew it long before the Noah Rock Men made their appearance, the shorter and the more succinct you can make it, the more effective you can make it, and then the more impactful and the more storylines you can sometimes include, or you can maybe explore the characters a little bit more. This idea, sometimes people go, that's reductive. Sometimes that's a very good thing. If you're able to take complex notions, you're able to take complex concepts and distill them in a way that someone who's smart but isn't necessarily a specialist in that area can understand. That's great. It's the same thing with a film. If you are writing something, like you're saying something about potato and a battery and a drink and a guy and a piano,
trying to get some fuel.
Where I don't know where it's going, just shoot the broad and then go on to something interesting.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Movie over.
Just put the batteries over her eyes as part of a traditional embalming ceremony because we don't need any other candies running around.
It's why so many movies with almost no budget and a minimalistic kind of attitude are so good.
Sometimes.
So, I'm not saying always, but sometimes it's deliberate.
Right. And then sometimes those movies are made by Joe Swanberg. All right.
Well, that's true.
Let's go to the next clip.
So this next scene, our hero seeks out the guidance of the Grand Sensei. Quote, the Fly. That's his name.
Because I prefer my Grand Senseis to come from South Africa.
Of course.
It's just Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
The left high kick, there it is.
A fly went into the other machine.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw up on you.
Tanaka Sensei. I'm here to see the fly.
He has found Satori.
You mean he knows I'm searching for him?
Yes.
I must find him, Sensei.
Be careful.
Ving Rhames just comes in and plows the sensei.
It's good when the extras are louder than the people having a dialogue.
It's playing.
Opens.
By the way, if you translate it, it's just someone's drink order.
Margarita.
This time and no watch a battery. Who took all batteries from my tap rights?
What is the big reveal?
Silver.
What is the big
fly
reveal?
turns around to reveal that it is a black woman with a shaved
We
head.
can't escape Jeff Goldblum.
B. The room holds only a mirror. Our hero is the fly. Or C. The fly lights a candle with his foot.
I can't believe that we just mentioned Jeff Goldblum. We had no clue it was going to go the fly direction.
I'm thinking it's going to go the fly direction.
What do you think there? Well, it has to go one of the fly directions.
You got to throw the choice.
Please tell me it's Jeff Goldblum lighting a candle with his foot.
That would be pretty impressive.
All right. What do you think there, Gerald?
Throw the things back up. I don't
Throw
know.
the things
yeah,
back
yeah.
up. Quarter black
There
Gary.
you go.
There we go.
There you
All right. I'm going to say that it's the mirror. The hero is the fly. Because he must be careful.
Mirror. On the wall. Please tell me who is the fairest fly of all?
Is it me?
No, wait. Don't answer that yet. Not until we have Chardonnay and get ourselves acquainted. Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to go lay shirtless on
Yes.
a rock in a kid's movie.
What do you think it is there, Dave Landau?
I want it to be A. I might strike out on this, but I just want it to be A.
Oh, well, there it is.
My issue is because of where it's filmed, they may not want that there.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
apartheid.
Yeah.
Bring this back up. What are people saying there in the chat? I'm
you
going
thinking?
to say, you know what? I'm going to say C just because it makes no sense.
You're going double
Okay.
C's.
All
And
right.
and I'm not saying that the whole country of South Africa makes no sense. What I'm saying is the cultural
Yeah.
differences, so it doesn't make sense to me.
There you go. Yeah.
They could
I
be,
like your
They
reasoning.
could be right, and I could be wrong. I'd argue electrical outlets, but still, we don't know.
You don't light foot candles?
You know, when in Johannesburg.
Yeah. A foot candle in the wind. Diana's dead. All right, anyway.
All right, here we go.
There's a candle. Oh, what?
Come on.
That is not how I imagined it.
This is going to be even better if he has hands.
Yes.
We're not going to see that. Better be one of those trans amputees who at
I
least
know, right?
identifies as being upper body limbless.
Yeah. Yeah, because being able to light a candle with your foot wins all the fights.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I thought he was going to kick it.
This
and
is
light
one
it with
thing that
his
I will say.
speed.
This is one thing that I will say about Asian culture. Sorry, Tokunawa and Austin Choi. If you look at Asian martial arts,
Yeah.
like the kung fu ones, the ones that are really popular, especially in China, by the way, they'll jail people who practice MMA and beat up old kung fu practitioners. It's very much into the mysticism and the look of something.
Yeah.
Right? That's what Karate Kid spurred for. It's like, waxing on, waxing off.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, boxers, kickboxers, judo practitioners, which is really Japanese, or luta livre, like fighters, Olympic wrestlers were learning how to kick ass. It's like, well, sure, look, you can wax a car and go practice your fighting. Lighting a candle with your feet isn't going to do anything for you unless you're in Cirque du Soleil and you're going to be third string. People aren't waiting for the foot
he's the
candle lighter.
grandmaster.
No, you see it once, you've seen it a million times.
Yeah, well, that was the first time I've seen it, so
Now you're there.
now
you've seen
I
it a
feel
million
like I've
times.
seen it
Yeah,
a million
exactly.
times. All right, we have one more clip.
One more clip.
One
This is
more
the final
clip, bad
battle.
movie lines. All right, final battle.
battle.
Ooh, final battle in South Africa with Asian senseis. This just seems
Foot
like a
fight.
breeding ground for trouble. I love how he just stands still for 8 seconds. By the way, this guy would be dead 4 times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So just kill him. Just end it.
Just remember, foot candles.
The secret
Gonna
move.
titty twister him with his ring foot. Oh my god.
Oh man,
That move never worked.
No, of course not. It's anti-leverage.
Yeah.
what is this?
How long is this?
It's coming up.
Stunt double.
I love how he lightly tapped.
Yeah, I know.
his neck. And Cyndi Lauper's watching
Yeah.
this?
That's David Bowie.
I like that run away.
There's a small man.
What does our hero do to end the fight? Jumps onto the guy's back and breaks his neck and screams. B. Does a flip in the air, pauses for a moment, and kicks him once. Or C. Does several cartwheels and immediately yells, which causes the guy to give
I'm
up.
hoping that Ziggy Stardust takes the foot candle and shoves it down.
Yes, I do too.
I'm going with B. Does a flip in the air, pauses for a moment, and then kicks him once.
By the way, this is about as capable as Bruce Lee was. And people get
Yeah.
really mad when you say it. It's just that Bruce Lee trained Hollywood producers.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it is. They just take some big-looking, muscular white guy or some big, muscular-looking, like Japanese guy or someone who's not Chinese like Bruce Lee. It
Yeah.
could be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The point is he is the guy who beats up the bigger, non-Chinese guy.
Yeah.
And it looks just like that. And it's entirely fake.
It's as
Yeah.
stupid as that.
He's literally putting himself in a position to get his ass kicked repeatedly.
Well, he's already been, like you said, he would be dead 4 times. You know?
Yeah. Well, listen.
This is a film. Come on.
Yeah, I guess it's a film. I guess it's a film. They make. I don't really like their film so much. They make better shoes.
They
All right. Which one
What
do
are
you
your
think it
guesses?
is?
The one where he pauses in the air.
Okay. What do you
So
think
you're
it is
going B?
there, Dave
I'm
Landau?
going to go breaks his neck and screams.
Let me see the options again. Breaks his neck and screams. And I think, you know what? I've been going C this whole time.
Stick with it.
Let me
It's
just stick with it and
Yeah.
go C because I think that making the guy give up through his screams.
It would be better.
Yeah, that's your war cry. It's like, my war cry is when I take balloon and go like this. You just see them on the hill horizon. I don't know. I'm gonna go C. What's that young man doing?
No, there's.
I'm floating in a tin can.
Answer is B.
That was technically a mix of
It
both
really
B
was.
It was a
and
little bit
C.
both. Yeah.
I thought I had
It's true.
lost.
So I
There was
clearly
A
win.
in there. There was
Wait.
neck and screaming.
There was all of the above.
No, you lost.
No,
And
I
you lost,
won.
Dave.
I won the first two, and then you're going to give me a
I
half
got-
point for three.
I lost.
So I'm
half
the winner.
point.
I'm still the undefeated champion.
No.
This has been Bad Movie Lines.
I lost because I.
I swear that looks like your dad. Like just before the last scene where the guy goes like that, like that character right before there. Anybody else feel
I
that
can't
way?
see. I didn't see it.
It looks like Pops Crowder.
I was too busy looking at the Nicolas Cage.
I know, I do
Man.
stare at that
I was
as
one
well.
of the 3 people who saw it in theaters.
My dad's dead. Thanks for bringing that up.
Oh, you're talking about Neil Breen.
Dave.
Oh, Neil Breen.
Neil
It
Breen.
looks close to your dad's features.
That looks nothing like my father.
It looks like your
How
dad.
dare you
covered
say
in
that
blood,
about your dad?
But
Looks
younger.
like if my dad were drawn by an anti-Semitic
Well, listen,
cartoonist.
Neil Breen is
Yeah.
a god.
I'm not saying it's like an exact likeness. I'm just saying it reminds me of your dad.
It's your dad with a Muppet nose covered in blood. What a nice compliment.
Let's talk about your dad, Dave.
Oh, come
Gerald, you
on.
want to talk about his dad?
Yeah,
No,
he's
huh?
dead.
Absolutely. No.
Yeah, I said my last goodbye as a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
well-
got for that? You got nothing to say, do you?
I do.
Look,
I
he's
got
got
lots to
nothing.
say.
Tongue-tied. Tongue-tied.
Keep cutting. You up.
But your dad did have it coming, right?
Well, yeah, he served and got Agent Orange.
Yeah.
well.
Listen.
Yeah, I'm glad he's dead, and I hope he burned in hell.
What?
Oh,
What? That's the man who tells it like it is.
No, I love my dad. He's a good man.
Yeah, thank you
Now
for
he's
your service.
trying to hide it.
He's like, I'm going to go get cigarettes, and I made up a story.
Got ancient
All
order.
right, let's go to chat. This is we laugh so we don't cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a joke.
He
My
lost his dad.
It was
I
not
was
fun.
locked out of Twitter.
Okay, Alex has a
equally
question. My family are still very Cuomo-sexual, even after all the info about the sexual misconduct and all the grandma killing. They refuse to see any view other than their far-left beliefs because they feel if their views shift, they will be seen as, Trump supporters. What can I do to get them to start openly talking about these important issues without causing fights? Has anyone on the show had an issue like this with their own family, and how did they deal with it? Lastly, how do I get more of these beautiful hand-etched mugs? I don't want anything else in my cabinet. It's the superior drinking vessel.
Well, the good thing is if you join MugClub, you always get one, and you can enter that discount of $69 annual. No way to do it and avoid a fight. So what I just say is find the. You said this person said their whole family, right? Everyone in their family, pretty much, their mom's side of the family.
Yeah.
So multiple people. So here's what you do. There is no way to do it without getting into some kind of a fight. We know this. When you have people, there's a difference between someone who's like, I don't know. I think right now it's been politicized. I think he's done a pretty good job. That's where you can find some common ground, see that change my minds. And then there are people, if they refuse to see any of the evidence with Andrew Cuomo, at this point, there is no common ground to be found. You're going to find yourself in a fight. So what I would advise you do is, since this is the whole side of your family, find the biggest, most intimidating member of said side of the family and take him out first. And then everyone else.
Prison rules.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Learn
ain't
to
gonna
light
have
a
any
candle
more
with your
fights.
foot.
So you got to kick somebody's ass or become somebody's bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, you went to that second option too quickly a few times. I think you.
Yeah,
Well, he understands it because also he did prison time, and crazy beats big every time.
that's true.
He's just hanging from nutsack like it was his job.
So Breda Zimmerman has a question for Dave. He says, my last name is Zimmerman, but I'm not Latino. Dave, have you always been conservative? If not, when did you realize that you were, and what was it that changed?
No, I've actually not always been conservative. I don't even know if I would necessarily say I'm conservative. I'm just put into that category now because anything that's not extreme left or is logical brings us here.
Yeah.
Right.
So, no, I would say that most of my life I've been extremely liberal, but a personal story. My dad died from Agent Orange in Vietnam, which we were talking about.
Yeah. In poor taste.
Yes, in poor taste. Teasing. My dad would have left. He was a very funny guy before he died from the VA not caring.
Yeah.
But
Speaks it like it is.
But yes, when it comes down to that, that did cause that, which led to my mom's death. And when when I break that down and I look at the system that's in place, I feel that a lot of Americans are completely screwed over by the government. So I actually don't side fully with any group, and people might say that might be a fake moderate, but I don't believe you until you do anything.
Right.
And so far, I'm not seeing anybody doing much. And that's just my own personal opinion. And once I start seeing a little bit more compassion coming out of the government, other than just greed and power-hungry ass,
Yeah.
well, I don't really have much of an opinion either way.
Especially the VA, because that's one of the few legitimate roles of government where if you are going to send out soldiers to fight wars for this country, then you are beholden to taking care of them. That's one thing that should be, in the rare instance of bipartisanship, making sure in other words, before we get to giving everyone health care as a human right, guess what? That's an earned right if someone served their country. And it's one of, and of course, a beacon of government efficiency, one of the worst healthcare systems available in the United States.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And as somebody who has voted Democrat many times, and I did vote for Obama, it's just the fact that, I'm sorry. I had different opinions then. But as I start when I start seeing everything in the way that, look, I firmly believe that the Democrats collapsed this country to get a guy out of office. That might sound extreme, but if you look at what happened over the last year, it's what happened. We used scare tactics to screw over Americans, cause mental illnesses that weren't there before, destroy people's jobs, take away our pursuit of happiness. Once you start doing that to people, I can no longer side with anything. Nobody was really out for anybody but themselves, and I watched my dad suffer until he was dead.
Right.
That's the truth.
Well, Dave, if this makes you feel any better, in this new bill, I think we're sending some money to Pakistan for gender studies.
Thank God.
That should be like a balm.
Oh, my God. I'm going to go pee on my dad's grave.
While the remaining Vietnam vets are coughing up powdered tang.
Meanwhile, they're still trying to say that certain tumors that people are, well, I don't know if your Parkinson's is from Agent Orange.
Right, yeah. It is, you know what, though? I think maybe you missed something there where you said because people are out for themselves and that government has been screwing people over. That inherently makes you right-wing and conservative because we believe, look, we've talked about this before, inherently for either ideology to work, seeing the world through a leftist point of view versus a conservative point of view, constitutionalist point of view. As a conservative, you have to believe that people, and this is why most Christians are conservatives, the idea of that people are inherently selfish. People are inherently flawed and bad.
Yeah.
To believe that liberalism will work, you have to believe that people are inherently good, but only the ones who vote for you. They're all inherently good, therefore you want to give them all of that power in government. See, conservatism says, look, people are selfish, people are easily corrupted. There's nothing more corrosive to the human soul, ironically, than success and power, so we need to mitigate that, and that's why we don't want the government to have that much unmitigated power over our lives. We don't trust the human condition, and even good people can be corrupted. We see it all the time. The left says, look, they believe that because they're all bad, but we're all good, and everything we do is with an altruistic motive. More money, please, more money, please.
Yeah, and if the left really believed that what they were selling you was worth it, they wouldn't have to take over every news network, every television show, force opinions and ideology onto you that you don't believe whatsoever, make sitcoms involving a family that's never existed, do Oreo commercials with a family of, it's like, wait, there's a black and an Asian lady, but they got a white kid.
Right.
You're like, what's that? Is that what you make?
Not to mention the Gillette commercials where a dad's teaching his son to shave his.
Yeah, exactly. That's true, though. Or the Oreo commercials where it's
a real thing.
That is a real thing.
Real.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a real
Gillette.
one.
I never
The
saw
father teaching his.
Yeah, the best a man can get is not your
best-
son.
the best day.
Not to be
Something.
confused with by Zenon. And everything that you're talking about, not only that, you're talking about these people, they need to take over control of all the media outlets and now, of course, big tech outlets.
Yes.
Education.
Education. Have people who have so little faith in their ideas that they're going to lock us out for a 7+1 Cuomo pickup lines. That's how little they believe that their ideas stand up to not only scrutiny, but mockery. That's the brave new world that we live in. And guess what? Some people say, maybe you should ease off the pedal, pull back. Probably not gonna.
Okay, we got this one from Alex. Question, Crowder Crew. Who would you want to run and win in 2024 and why?
Is this Alex Jones?
No.
Is that Alex
can't
Jones?
be.
I want to see if you're one of the lizard people. Who would I like to run? It's tough to always say. I like Ron DeSantis quite a bit.
Yeah.
Nome there in one of the Dakotas. I always forget which one.
Yeah.
And listen, if Ted Cruz were
South.
more I mean, I would still support Ted Cruz. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to support a Republican if they do what they said they would do.
Yeah.
If it's someone like a Jeb Bush or someone probably even at this point like a Marco Rubio or like a Mitch McConnell type, of course not. If it's someone who I think is a little bit nutty, like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course not. But anyone within that spectrum, someone who actually does that's the litmus test. Did they do what they said they would do when they achieved that office? Ted Cruz qualifies. Ron DeSantis certainly qualifies. And there's a whole bunch of people who could be on that roster. So I don't know, and I try and avoid this conversation because I don't want to kneecap anyone at this point since I don't throw my hat in the political ring. Unless it's someone I really, really don't want because I see them as a wolf in sheep's clothing.
One issue alone, taking out big tech, DeSantis. He's the only person who has done anything about it right now. And if other people pick that mantle up and run with it, okay, maybe I pick somebody else. But right now, DeSantis.
And you know why I want him? Because he doesn't want to do it.
He's great.
Yeah. He doesn't want to do it. He said, I'm going to run for governor because he can actually affect change in Florida. Yeah. And Floridians love him.
Yeah.
So, but
he looks like an action hero.
And he also just doesn't give a rat's with the media.
Yeah.
He really doesn't. He kind of has all the qualities that we like from Donald Trump while being a little bit more measured.
Yeah. More polished, too. Yeah, absolutely.
If you were to ask me right now, I like DeSantis because the biggest stories have been COVID. The biggest stories have been, the election issues. The biggest stories have been big tech, and he's been on the right side of all of those very, very boldly. So
what's his big tech thing?
Oh, so he's creating and I don't know when it's going to be passed, but a law that you cannot ban, that big tech cannot ban any, I believe it's politicians or candidates from big tech platforms where they face $100,000 per day fine.
A day.
They could sue them.
Yeah, that's not. A lot of those big tech companies could laugh at that.
They could, but they can't ban us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but somebody has to start doing something.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And so he's actually fighting. There was something else that he was doing. We'll have to cover this next week. We have to jump into it. It was something about your personal data as well.
Oh, yeah. Ensuring your privacy rights. And it was specifically more so aimed at Apple and Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But I know Apple and Facebook. Yeah. We actually have a segment in the works on that. But yeah, so no, $1,000 a day. And I was...
100,000.
I had a plan, but then I realized I have to be a resident of Florida. So I was just going to run for some unelected, like some actual elected position, like dog catcher, some county, like Oswego County, if that's a place. And
just buy a condo.
Then if they they wouldn't be able to ban me. But then I won't say that I floated the idea to certain people who live in Mar-a-Lago. But just seeing on Twitter, I back, because he's like on some city council.
Well, now
they're thinking about
now that impeachment failed, he can run for 2024, can't he?
Yeah. Can you just pick a county where you got like 85% of the vote in Florida.
Yeah.
And just get it. My father was he was constable, which doesn't make any sense. He was basically a dog catcher in a small community in Michigan. He won by 6 votes. It was all his family, and he never even took the keys to the truck. He just wanted to see if he could win. He never did it.
Didn't even catch a
dog.
dog.
They were just dogs running amok, and now we have them all over Detroit.
Now we have the big wolves.
One more chat, unless you think 2 more, but because we have to go to go tape some other sketches here.
Okay, yeah, we'll do one more then.
All right, make it count.
So Braden wants to know. Let's see.
By the way, I know you're in the camouflage hat. I can still see you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't always work.
Okay, Braden wants to know, people tend to vote based off of emotion. Democrat politicians are naturally better at playing on emotion. Conservative ideas are always better, but not necessarily emotional. How do Republicans utilize emotion more to win political races?
Well, you're largely correct in that it's tough to compete against Santa Claus, right?
Yeah.
Just free internet, free school, free health, free drugs, free health screening.
Free
at
money.
A certain point, free money.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I can't tell everyone else how to do it, but this right here is an involuntary emotional response, laughter. And that's always why I focus on that. Brian Callen who's in comedy for how long have you been doing? 30 years?
500 years. Yeah, 30 years. Yeah.
500 years. You take a nap and grow a beard.
That's right. I'm like one of those Arctic sharks.
I just started doing stand-up in my mid-teens. I was an actor before that, and this is the only thing that I know really how to do. And I was told for many, many years at places like Fox News and conservative radio that it didn't work. The conservatives didn't like humor. So the problem is the market is created by people from the top down saying, no, it's just got to be during Obama. It was Obama Doomsday. They asked me to write a book about an Obama Doomsday thing, and I had written the treatment for Change My Mind.
Yeah.
And they said no. So that's what I know how to do. Now, if you watch what we do with the actual Change My Mind segments, it is logical. It uses the Socratic method, but it does. I think that you can appeal to people emotionally if you at least present the empathy behind it. So like we just talked about, I understand. I get really pissed when people throw their trash. In Texas, it bothers me. People throw their trash out their window.
Yeah.
That really bothers me. That being said, that doesn't mean that banning fracking is going to help the environment. But I believe I understand why people want to have a cleaner earth to live on. And if you explain to people, look, I understand where you're coming from. Because give them the benefit of the doubt. People like the James Camerons, people like the Faucis and the Bidens of the world, they're what I call sort of the manipulators. These people who they don't really care. They just need to do it for political gain. Or the Kathleen Kennedys of the Star Wars world. Yeah. But the people who believe it, most of them genuinely believe that, well, we have to ban fracking because it's going to save, I don't know, the penguins, the manatees, whatever, take your pick. And if you explain to them that it's actually worse for the environment, and you explain to them, look, you need to understand that right now we need energy or people will die. People need to keep themselves warm. This is a perfect opportunity to explain to people, right? You've seen people freeze. Yeah, I don't want people to die because they don't have energy. Well, neither do I. We can't do it with nothing but green energy. So you have to look at the energy available to us. And do you understand that oil being shipped on ships in barrels across the ocean from Saudi Arabia is far more harmful and energy inefficient for the environment than fracking that we have here. And it's a place that violates human rights and effectively has indentured servitude. If you tell them that, you come to a different conclusion because of your empathy, only you've used reason to reach it. A lot of people, if they don't actually change their own mind, they go, okay, at least you're not an asshole. Yeah. There are a lot of people out there who just think, with abortion, you just want to control women's bodies. I have no interest in controlling a woman's body in any other aspect of her life. Only the other body that is inside her body that has its own beating heart and its own DNA. And then even if those people say, well, you know what, my right to what I think and convenience supersedes the scientific definition of life at that point, they go, but I understand if you think it's a life, I understand why you line up that way.
Yeah.
And at least they don't see you as a robot. So just sort of apply the same empathy that they apply to their conclusion and add reason. And make sure you do it. You're constructing it in front of them. And even if you don't change their mind right then, they will have a lot to think about. And at least you're probably the first conservative who they've met. So that's a start.
You know what? That's nice. Really interesting you say that, because Jonathan Haidt, who's a psychiatrist, did a lot of work on this, which is what you're saying is that if you start out and you're talking to somebody who's on a different spectrum than you are politically or philosophically, drawing common ground first, kind of like respecting their point of view or at least understanding where they're coming from,
right,
is very important to make any headway. If you're talking to somebody who's against guns and you go, you're a gun nut, and the guy if you look at him and go, you're a because you don't like guns, and he goes, you're a gun nut, the conversation's over.
Done.
What you can start with is going, we both agree we don't want spree shooters. Let's just agree that we want to solve that problem. And what's really interesting about what you're saying is that Haidt did some really interesting things. Liberals tend to have a narrower moral palette, according to him, meaning liberals usually are concerned with, does it cause harm and is it fair? Mm-hmm. But conservatives and most Americans have a broader moral palette. It's not just about whether it's fair or does it cause harm. They also respect things like sanctity, right, authority, and loyalty. Right. Loyalty to my country. That's a big thing. Loyalty to my group. But for a liberal, that sounds like racism. Sanctity, the American flag, sanctity of human life. Right. And for a liberal, that means, well, you're trying to control a woman's body now. You're talking about a bunch of religious mumbo jumbo.
Right.
And authority, for that matter. My father, the head of the household or whatever, well, that's the patriarchy. So it all depends on how you're looking at it. But Americans, and Jonathan Haidt's been hired by liberal politicians to help them connect with Americans who are in places like red states, because when your moral palate, when you're only talking about whether it causes harm or fairness, Americans are like, hold on, dude, hold on. When you start tearing down statues and you start denigrating the founding fathers, that's sacred to me. Yeah. That's part of my tradition, my heritage, and being an American.
Well, what's interesting too from what you say is I think they have a narrower moral palate, but they sort of compensate for that by just the terms that you just used are very broad and undefined. So they say, oh, fair. Well, fair isn't really something that you can define, because what you think is fair, maybe somebody else's. When you say harm, right? Well, I think that terminating the life of a 9-month-old baby is harmful. You don't have a single Democrat who's against it. I'm not talking about the morning after pill. I'm not talking about that. Let's even say, we're not talking about rape and incest. We're saying that there's not a single member currently at the head of the Democratic Party who has an opinion other than abortion up until and including birth right now. 8 months, 9 months,
Yeah.
right? So they say harm. What do they mean? Well, harm in the general sense of the environment and the greater good. Whereas I think with conservatives, we have a broader palette, but we define it. We don't really care so much about what's fair because you can't really define it. What's just? Well, do we have some kind of precedent for it? Yeah, we have a criminal justice system. We have actual, punishments that are commensurate with the crime. We actually have something we can define. We talk about loyalty. We can define loyalty. Loyalty to what? Faith, family, freedom, right? We actually set, and that's why it's so easy to say that conservatives fall short of their standards because they have them, right? When if for example, there was that Christian comic who they found out, and I'll leave you with this. I can't remember his name, Chris something. He got caught sexting people. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he was like a guy who was a Christian comedian. He was relatively, he did YouTube stuff. Now here's the thing: these people weren't underage. He did not pressure any of these people. They were not unwilling. Basically, some women sent him pictures, and he sent some pictures in response. Anyone else in Hollywood, that's not a scandal, right? It's not a scandal. Yeah. It's a guy engaging in a mutually consensual cyber relationship because he was famous. And he came out and he said, you know what, I actually, I have not been living up to my standards, and I actually suffer from a pornography addiction and sexual addiction, and I'm going to take some time. And everyone said, ha, 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 ha. Whereas those people have porn as their favorite tabs on their browser, but they're like, well, at least I don't have a standard. Well, that's great, but that's nowhere to live. That's just like you're talking about people who watch
That's also a different way of looking at human beings. Conservatives tend to look at people as being essentially flawed and who need restriction,
right?
Who need religion and family and codes and things like that. Whereas liberals tend to think that when you put restrictions on people, they can't be themselves. And so again, it's how you look at things.
Well, again, but it's also subjective. They believe that you can put restrictions on everyone but me. In other words, I can put restrictions on the business owner. I can put restrictions on the employee. I can put restrictions on the church. I can put restrictions on the person who started a fracking business. I can put restrictions on Elon Musk. I can put restrictions on the car manufacturer who makes SUVs. But I don't want any restrictions for Joe Biden's authority or Anthony Fauci because they think like me, and we should have complete and unfettered power. And I, as a conservative, right wing, whatever you want to call me, I have a deep mistrust of human beings. And that also comes from a Christian worldview because we're all flawed, we're all fallen. And so the safest thing that we can do is avoid giving any one person or any one group unfettered amounts of power. And by the way, that includes myself and anyone in this room, certainly Brian Callen, who's going to be at the Virginia Beach Funny Bone. Which day?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get your tickets now.
Just that pussy again. I'm only going to have
Big and Hungry Podcast. Conspiracy
Thursday.
Social Club on Patreon. Get it all.
You're not going to do the Friday show. Just Thursday. Then they send you on your way. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Hey, if you like this video, it's actually clipped from the live show every weekday, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can just hit the notification button, subscribe, and watch it there. And if you don't want this to disappear from the big tech overlords, support us. Crowdershop.com. Look, we got the Fight Like Hell shirt. Dave Landau's over. He's got a baseball jersey.
Check it out, right, Angel Salazar?
Yeah, and then he takes some. Can we say Big Chief? Are we allowed to say? Is that allowed? Anyways, he chews tobacco and throws up on troikas.